Welcome, my name is Evangelysm. Today is Tuesday, January the 27th in the year 2015, and you are listening to the Evangelysm podcast, where I will share with you my love for raiding priests and having fun in the world of Warcraft. So, the Evangelysm podcast, you'll all be wondering, what is this? And the Evangelysm podcast is effectively a replacement, a substitution, an addition to my personal blog, which covers the subjects that I've already mentioned: raiding, priesting, and just having fun in the world of Warcraft. The show will take a set format each week, and to be fair, it's nothing groundbreaking. It will be me talking about the current events in the game, what's going on, not necessarily in the game, but around the game, out in the real world. And there'll be lots of commentary and discussion. There'll be news, there'll be a little bit of rants even. But the show will follow I won't say a strict format, but it will follow a pattern. There'll be a few minutes of me just talking about what I've done in the world of Warcraft. And because I am mainly a raider, there'll be some raiding news. And I'm a priest, I heal. I do occasionally try to DPS on my priest. And that will also come into the news section of the show. So the news that will be covered in brief, maybe 5 minutes. I don't know how long the show will last each week. But once I've covered the news and the bits about me, what I've done, what I'll be doing is going into a topic. The topic may be current, topical. It may be one from a list of a few topics that are dear to my heart. I shan't cover them now. I won't give you teasers into what they're liable to be. That's the surprise element of the show. If I am fortunate enough to be blessed with people replying to tweets, emails even, I'll maybe cover those. And then I want to give a little bit to the community as well. So I'll be giving tips for priests, and also maybe for group play, raids, dungeons. It may be basic stuff. It may be quite advanced stuff. It all depends on what I see as being the thing that I would like to share each week with you guys. So, who is Evangelysm? Well, Evangelysm is my priest, my beloved character on Shadowsong EU. I've played Evangelysm since the very first day that I started Warcraft, which was way back, November the 17th, 2005. That was way back in vanilla. I'm not one of those vanilla rocks people. Well, it did rock, but I won't preach to you about it. But sadly, that means the wonderful statue that Blizzard gave away recently for being a 10-year veteran was not mine. I missed by 9 months. It wasn't even close. I'm not bitter. Sad, yes, but not bitter. So, in real life, who is Evangelysm? Well, Evangelysm is me. My name is Ian Wilkinson. Google it. There's nothing fun to be found. I'm not the cyclist. He's the only famous Ian Wilkinson around nowadays. I've got no nasty past to come up and bite my backside. There's nothing fun that you'll find out about me. Nothing unexpected anyway. Most things that you may find about me, Ian Wilkinson, is Evangelysm. Evangelysm has been around for a long time. So, the character, Evangelysm, Shadowsong EU. I'm currently in a guild, Exhumed. I've been in Exhumed now for 4 years. 3 years. 4 years. Something like that. So, yeah. I've forgotten my words. Yes, Evangelysm, Raider. I've raided since vanilla, Molten Core. Back in vanilla, I got as far as the Twin Emperors in AQ40. Never went in, well, I did set foot into Nax. The guild that I was with at the time, the Teddy Bears of Doom. Fantastic guild name. Fantastic guild, fantastic people. Couldn't kill the spider trash on the way to Anubra Khan, the first boss, in the spider wing. So yes, I set foot into Nax, got the attunement, was all prepared, set to go, and then we couldn't kill the trash. And like I say, we weren't a bad guild. TBC came, and with the Teddy Bears of Doom at the time, and we went into a place called Karazhan. Don't know if many of you have heard of it. Apparently some people did like it. A few raiders cut their teeth on Karazhan. Sadly, Karazhan forced a 40-man raid to become a 20-man raid, a 10-man raid. And then the 10-man raid needed to transform into a 25-man raid, and that caused our officers at the time a lot of pain. And I was one of a few people that broke away from the Teddy Bears of Doom and formed a guild called Deadwood. Deadwood went on to be one of Shadowsong's top guilds in TBC. Well, I think we were top 10. Not bad at the time. There was a lot of guilds, and we were in the top 10. We got as far as the Reliquary of Souls, that's a lovely word, in the Black Temple. Sadly, never set foot in the Sunwell, and I've only been back a handful of times myself since. But that's a different story again, for a different day. And Wrath came. Wrath was possibly the pinnacle of the Deadwood Guild. We conquered Nex Rammus within 4 weeks. One of a few guilds to do that. Christmas came. Christmas passed. Half the guild vanished because they were bored and didn't want to continue raiding Nex Rammus. And with no raid tier new raid tier on the horizon, these people decided to take a break. We didn't have a big roster, but we struggled along, and 20-man Nax most nights. Well, not most nights, but most weeks. And soldiered on through until the Ulduar patch. Ulduar was a fantastic moment. On that first night, we had to bench people for the first time in 3 months. And within 2 weeks, half the guild decided that they didn't really want the effort. They didn't want to be around and being benched. And some stopped playing altogether, and some went into other guilds. And this left us in a really bad shape, and we formed into a 10-man guild. And people logged on to raid. And that wasn't my style. I am a raider. But my game is all around the social side of the game as much as raiding. I play to raid. I play to pass time, and I was alone in the guild most days, which isn't a good place to be, and therefore I made the decision to move on. I moved to a different guild called Encore. Encore was a good guild, but they just weren't my style of raider at that time. They were barely clearing Ulduar, and when the next raid tier came out, the wonderful Trial of the Crusader, the raid leader at the time didn't see the need to go in there because there was a PvP encounter for the third boss. Bless him. So I had to look for another guild because I wanted to progress with my raiding. And there were some good people there in Encore. There were really some good people. And I ended up moving to a guild called Quercus, Really good guild again. GM was absent. Long story short, GM returned. Bit of a crazy one. Changed the whole atmosphere of the guild when they returned, and made some very, very odd decisions mid-raid. G-kicking a tank just because he missed a pull. Stupid stuff. And I decided there and then that wasn't the guild for me anymore. Moved to another guild called Immersion on Shadowsong EU still, to join some friends who had moved there after they left Deadwood, and spent the rest of Lich King expansion there in the Wrath. At the end of Lich King, I decided to hang up my raid boots as a hardcore raider and went to join friends that were in a guild called Saturday Night Fever. Hi folks, if you're listening. Tommy, Mike, Jibber, and had a really, really good fun there in Cataclysm until I had to change my job. We were raiding sort of, I won't say hardcore, but we weren't hardcore raiding, it was fun raiding. It was progression focused, but not only focused on progression in Saturday Night Fever. Took them a long way. We got as far as Ragnaros in Firelands, no heroics. I lie, no. They had Domo on heroic, and then I changed jobs, as I said, and my schedule in real life didn't match their raid schedule, and I was at a crossroads in my WoW career. For the first time, I seriously considered leaving WoW because I couldn't raid. And I tried games like Rift, good game, not quite Warcraft. I tried Star Wars, really good single player game, not a game that I would replace for Warcraft. And the trouble that Rift and Star Wars both had is they were subscription based, and they weren't good enough to replace World of Warcraft, and therefore I decided to stick with World of Warcraft and look for a new guild. And there was a guild on my server, Shadowsong EU, represent, and there was one or two guilds that I could join, and one of them had an old friend from a guild I'd previously been in, which was Immersion, High Gracie, and he forced me, begged me, slapped me around and made me join Exhumed. That was back in 2012, and I've been in Exhumed ever since. And Exhumed were the first guild that I'd ever spent a whole expansion in, which is kind of scary because I'm not a guild hopper. I eventually became the guild raid leader. That was halfway through Cataclysm. Well, halfway through the last half of Cataclysm. So 3/4 of the way through Cataclysm, you could say. We ended Cataclysm with a heroic Deathwing kill, literally on the last day of the expansion. And that opened up a lot of good progress in Mists. We cleared everything on normal mode really quickly, considering our 2 days a week, 6-hour schedule. We didn't hit any of the heroic content until Throne of Thunder, where we managed a whole one boss. But like I say, we're a 6-hour a week raid guild, and we keep pace with guilds that are raiding twice as often, twice as long. So it does us, it really does. And we've continued that all the way right through until Siege of Orgrimmar. Before the 6.0 nerfs in Siege of Orgrimmar, we were working on Siegecraft of Blackfuse on heroic, which was really, really good. And yes, it went on for 14 months, yada yada yada. And we actually killed Mythic Grosh on the day that 6.0.2 came out, and we just blitzed through, and it was a in some way, it was a real disappointment because everything became face roll easy. But again, that opened up a few more doors for this expansion. We've merged. We've grown into a Mythic team, and we've done a lot of recruitment. Fortunately, our server got connected with a wonderful server called Azune on EU. Again, obviously, they're going to merge EU and US realms. Oh, that could be a day, one day. But no. And we've picked up some really, really high-end quality people who want to raid on our casual schedule, and we're doing great guns. We've got one boss down, Kargath on Mythic, and we're really close on the Twin Ogron, and hopefully he'll be going down this week, and that might be some good news for you to get next week. So that is me. That is Evelix the character. Evelix the real person is me. My name is Ian Wilkinson. I was born in 1969. I lived for most of my life, well, I say most, that's probably not true anymore. I lived for the first 21 years of my life in my hometown of Norwich. Now, people familiar with the English accents might be going, you don't sound like you're from Norwich. Well, I am, but 25 years ago, I moved up to Yorkshire, and I've been an outcast everywhere ever since, because I'm an outsider up here in the north, and within a year I became an outsider in Norwich because I don't sound like I come from any particular part of the UK, which is good because the Norfolk accent is horrid. I moved to Sheffield with my job, where I wasn't a server administrator. I wasn't anything to do with IT. I was just a clerk, an office clerk. Nothing special, team manager, eventually, yada yada yada. And that's basically where I got my raid leading skills from, was doing my job, because I was managing people and telling them what to do, and I enjoy telling people what to do. And I now work, as I said, as a server administrator for a company called British Telecom. Small little company. Some people may have heard of it in the UK. Believe they've got outposts in the US as well, but they're now trying to become, instead of a telephone company, they're trying to become a media company. And it's probably the way to go forward, I guess, with this thing called the internet. May have heard of it. And that's pretty much my work life. Home, I've got a wife who puts up with me playing Warcraft way too often, and a son who tolerates me playing Warcraft because he used to play as well for a while. He was emulating his his dear old dad, bless him. But my son is off to university soon. Yes, I am old, aren't I? I am 45. That's probably older than some people who are listening to this podcast, parents. But yeah, my son is off to university this year, and he plays strange games like Halo. He likes to see a gun in his hand. Not my style. I just can't play that way. So, podcasting. How did I get this desire to be broadcasting a podcast? Well, it's a desire that I've had for 3 or 4 years, really. And I've only now just plucked up the courage to stand here, because I am actually standing. I am standing here speaking to you because of a man called Total Biscuit. Well, indirectly, a man called Matthew Cummins. But that's beside the point. It was Matthew Cummins that put me onto Total Biscuit. And Total Biscuit had a show called Blue Please back in 2006. Not sure if it started in 2005, but it was 2006 when I was listening. And I fell in love with podcasts. I stopped listening to music on my way into work to listen to WoW podcasts. And that's why I do most of my WoW podcast listening to is in the car. And I listened to WoW radio exclusively. And then one day, while I was listening to a show called Octal and Hordak versus the World, anyone that's been around may have listened to that before, they mentioned this other show called The Instance. And I thought, that sounds okay. I'll give that a listen. If it's Octal and Hordak have recommended it, I'll listen to The Instance. And instantly found a new show to listen to. And one of the saddest days of my podcasting life was when WoW Radio announced that it was closing shop. I was confused because I was worried that I would have nothing to listen to, and all of the shows broke off in their own little separate ways, and many of them fell by the wayside, and I had to branch out and listen to new shows. And I discovered many new shows. Too many shows that I'd never actually I'm never really up to date with the shows because I just don't have enough time to listen to them. And therefore I've decided to add to the glut of podcasts out here. Why? Because I can. The main reason I want to do this is not because I want to do a podcast. Well, I do want to do a podcast, but it's not just the desire to do a podcast. I've had a blog for the last 3 years, if not 4. I'll have to check. It might even be 5. Scary thoughts. But I've had a blog, and since Warlords launched, I've really not been able to find the time to put a blog post together. And it's because it takes an awful lot of time that I need to sit down and write. Whereas with a podcast, I can be doing other things while I'm doing the podcast. Now, at the moment, I'm actually not, and this is taking me a reasonable chunk of time to do, but it's the first time I'm learning a new skill, and I'm open to advice, comments, feedback of all the descriptions. If you want to leave me feedback, please do. Please put a post on my Twitter, which is at Evlyx, EVLYXX. In the next day or so, I will probably even put up an at Evangelysm podcast account. I might make one. In fact, I should make one. And I'm open to all feedback. If you think I'm rubbish, don't just say you're rubbish. Say you're rubbish because your mic's crap. Well, yes, I'm currently using just a gaming headset. If I do make this a habit, if I do get the positive feedback to say, oh yes, we want to listen to you, Ian. Please, Ian, tell us more. We listen to you. I will actually invest in a mic. I've been looking at buying a mic for way too long, and it's just never having dared make the plunge. And I now do now think that I am ready to do that, otherwise I wouldn't be here broadcasting to you all. So that is the real me. If you've got questions about the real me, or even about the online me, the Evlyx, not the Ian, please ask me a question. My email is really simple. It is evlyx@evlyx.co.uk. That's EVLYXX at evlyxx.co.uk, or at Evlyx on Twitter. That's at EVLYXX. Simples. So that's me, that's the show. I'm really hoping that I can make a go of this. I really hope that I get more than my mum downloading it, although my mum probably won't, because I won't tell her, because I'll be too embarrassed. Is this something I need to be embarrassed about? Maybe. Yeah, who cares? I'm going to have fun. I'm still learning. I'm open to ideas, suggestions, even if it's the suggestion that you are really rubbish, give it up and just be happy at being a listener. I'm going to be brave or stupid, I don't know, and I'm going to say, row, put me on rail maintenance, and then see what happens. Oh, I could be in turmoil for weeks. I could, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to make the plunge, because I just want to have fun doing this. And I started off really nervous at the beginning of the show, and that's probably going to come over. There's going to be no sound bites or anything like that, because I don't know how. I don't know how to put these little widgets in, and it could be all disaster. But I'm going to have fun, and I want you to join me on a roller coaster ride of listening to Evangelysm on a podcast. Good night, folks. It's been wonderful if you've listened. If you didn't listen, you don't know what you missed. Or maybe you do, which is why you haven't listened. But who cares? My name is Evangelysm, Ian Wilkinson. I don't know what to call myself on here. You tell me, Evangelysm or Ian Wilkinson? Or Ian. I think Evangelysm. I'm going to be called Evangelysm for now. So, have fun, folks, and goodbye.